And we're going.
3.
We've been going.
2.
We are going. 3, 2, 1, and now.
Okay, we're going. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to your Time Starts Now, a Taskmaster podcast, back on its regular, or back in, I should say, its regular Thursday slot. I'm Emerson.
And I am Joe.
We've not said that intro for a while. And today we are covering the penultimate episode of Series 7 of Taskmaster, The Pendulum Draws the Eye. But first, Joe, how are you?
I am tired. I was at work today. That is all that Joe has to contribute to this.
Fair enough.
Joe is mentally tired.
Joe is
The body is willing, the spirit wants to go to bed.
Now you know how I feel after I had to record with few hour old tattoo last week.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done that, man. But anyways,
I had no choice. We could have recorded it the night before when my skin was pure and clean.
We could have pushed it back.
No,
yeah, that's funny how it works. That I have to work all the time. It's like, you know.
I'm a uni student. I have other priorities.
Sure. Okay. I was a college student once. I didn't have any fucking priorities.
It's because you didn't host a podcast.
Sure, that's the deciding thing. But anyways, this is as you said, this is season 7, episode 9, because we don't. This episode aired on Halloween 2018, which I'm very interested in. They did not do anything to signify the fact that this was airing on Halloween. I guess they didn't know the broadcast schedule at the time.
I think they didn't plan for it. Yeah, it's especially with a pre-recorded show, it's usually quite hard to. You sort of just have to work with what you got, and they could have. Yeah. They sort of decide, okay, we're gonna put you in the first 10-week time slot available we have. And it's honestly better that they didn't do a Halloween episode and have than they did a Halloween episode and were not able to get it to fall on Halloween.
Everybody has a fucking Christmas episode, no Halloween season episode. This is blatant erasure of Halloween, my favorite holiday.
Having said that, though, they've had New Year's treats in the Channel 4 era.
Yeah, so who knows? But
I think it's sort of just easier. Television on New Year's Day is very weird because it's a bank holiday, and yeah. Anyway, so stuff happened this episode.
Yes, many things happened this episode, including, again, one of the worst prize tasks that I have seen in a minute.
But first, can we talk about Alex and Greg's banter?
Yes.
Alex has got Greg a present, a horse-drawn carriage, but as we all know, horses can't draw.
Yes, that is. I saw that joke coming. I eagerly awaited it. It was great. I would also like to point out that it is now time.
It reminds me of a joke of that happened in one of the animated Batman shows where Alfred says he's going to draw Master Wayne in a bath.
Mm-hmm.
And then Batman walks into the bathroom to find Alfred, the bar is empty. Well, sir, I said I drew you a bath. And he's just sort of thrusts the drawing in his face.
Yeah.
And it's got I think it had a crude stick Batman in it.
Yeah, my favorite one of those was from that same show. They busted a money counterfeiter because George Washington was wearing a turtleneck on the money.
Wow.
Instead of anything, it's like that's your giveaway, Brucey boy, world's greatest detective right here.
But yeah, Greg has James and Phil hold up the horse-drawn carriage, and then Greg punches through it, and I put in my notes, rip, pun intended.
Oh my god.
I make good humor. Who said I can't be funny?
Oh, I'm not going to answer that one. Okay, anyways, moving on.
Oh, wait, you know.
I was sworn not to tell. But anyways, moving right along, it is time for the drop for the Hawaiian shirt count.
Okay.
Hawaiian shirt count.
So, what is there to the Hawaiian shirt count?
So it is a solid 3 this time. It is a solid 3. We've got Acaster wearing...
We're breaking ground here.
It is a wonderful... I don't even know what it is. It's like a full skyscape of mountains and like stars and mountains and clouds and a sunset and some other stuff on it. It's fantastic. It's a very like wonderfully patterned button-up shirt. Then we've got Phil Wang over with a shirt with a bunch of feather patterns on them. And then Carrie Godleman has a shirt with a bunch of little birds as the repeating pattern. Also of note, Phil Wang has blue versions of the same yellow sneakers he wore in the re-recorded tasks that he is wearing.
That's not that groundbreaking, I think.
It is interesting because he has the yellow shoes are the exact same shoes that the bride wore in Kill Bill, I believe. The yellow, what are they? Are they Sauconys? But
oh God,
yes, they are the they are, what is it? It's the Onitsuka Tiger Mexico, I believe is what it is. The Onitsuka, it's some sneakerhead shit. They look exactly like the ones from Kill Bill. It's probably not what Phil's wearing. They're probably some knockoffs of them, but Phil is wearing variations of them.
Okay. The prize task is bring in the most surprisingly beautiful thing. Now,
yes.
Would you like to do this, Joe, or should I?
Did I do it last week? I don't remember.
Do you have your lucky chrono with you?
I have many coins. I cleaned out a drawer, and there are coins in it. Let's do a U.S. 50-cent piece. John F. Kennedy on the front, and
Joe's
the Great
Coin
Seal.
Corner. Is this another jingle?
Oh, no. This is going to be 80% jingle by volume by the time we finish this.
Oh, no. I had a great idea for when we meet up in the summer.
Oh, no. Hey,
no, don't
so
worry.
what
You will. I'll tell you at the end.
Did you want heads or tails?
Heads, I do the prize task.
Then heads it is. You have to do it, because it came up heads.
Sure. Bring in the most surprisingly beautiful thing. Now, Rod, as original as ever, he has brought in a photo of the sexiest pose.
Well, he brought in a photo and a story, I would like to say, of why it was so beautiful.
Well, he was driving past the Port Talbot in Wales, and he thought it looked beautiful, and he took a picture and made it even more beautiful. Yes,
he did.
And I mean, if you've watched Series 7, you know exactly what the hell is going on. Let me ask you a question. Which gimmick is more getting old? Phil's haggling or Rod's sexy Greg photos?
It is definitely both of them. This one is particularly bad because because he could have just submitted the picture of Greg instead of wasting everybody's time with some bullshit story that took away a minute of our lives. But this is, which, to clarify for anyone who hasn't seen season 7, this is a picture of an industrial area and on the water with the same picture of Greg Davies in his underwear, photoshopped onto the beach in front of at the foreground of the shot, and it's like, oh my god, get a different joke.
I mean, he tried it last time, and it kind of worked, and he tries it again later in the same episode, and it sort of works.
Yeah,
but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Phil. We got a little video to accompany Phil's. We see the hand of what I presume Alex, because everything is Alex in this show. The hand winding the crank of a Jack-in-the-Box, and when the little figurine pops out, there's a picture of Grace Kelly of Monaco taped to the Jack-in-the-Box's head.
Grace Kelly also before
considered
becoming
one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood.
Yes, before becoming Princess of Monaco, was one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. Before she was literally
a mock the week joke.
Princess Monaco of Kent. Yes, I do remember that. That's an old mock the week joke, but no, Grace Kelly was an actual Hollywood actress for a very long time before getting the literal, fairy tale story of getting married by a prince and becoming a princess, and then the Brothers Grimm fairy tale story of dying of a fucking stroke while driving down a hilly road. I always feel really bad for her family for that one, because that's just terrible.
Jess Knappett has brought in a picture of sand when you look at it under a microscope.
Which I actually did. I did like that.
It's surprisingly beautiful, but unless you have small children and are desperately in need of something to fill a sandpit, what are you gonna do with the sand?
Well, it's not sand. It's a picture of sand. So you hang the picture up on your wall. You're not putting you're not taking the sand is not the beautiful thing. It's the magnification of the sand.
Greg says that he doesn't like sand and he greatly prefers pebble/shell beaches, and
because he was going with Jess, because Jess offered him a line to start a comedic bit and he immediately hard-noed her. That's why he was doing it.
I was going to say I actually disagree with Greg and preferred sand beaches until I saw the picture I have just sent you on Instagram now.
What is it? Oh, that looks like it would be a bitch to walk on.
Nice to look at, though. For those who want context, because visual medium is amazing for a podcast, I've sent Joe a picture from this travel Instagram page where a setting sun lights up some pebbles or something. I mean, it's probably most definitely photoshopped in a sense, but
I mean, it looks like they are like various smoothed bits of quartz. I hope they're quartz. They're lighting up from the inside. I want the
little bluey green ones. I want one of those.
Yeah, these definitely look like you would die if you tried and walked on them, or they would hurt, or they would be very difficult to. I'd much rather just have white sand.
But Greg says he prefers pebble beaches, as we've seen very clearly in Rod's picture.
Yeah, because Rod Photoshop, wherever the photo was taken from has a breakwater right in front of it. That's where Rod photoshopped the picture of Greg onto. What did James Acaster bring in?
James brought in a strange picture of himself.
This is the worst drawing I've ever seen.
Really? Even worse than Hugh Dennis's fat, bald, white man.
Okay, so Hugh Dennis was approaching this with a lack of talent. So Hugh Dennis does not draw regularly.
Also, we don't know Sam. We haven't seen. No.
This is something that was very clearly drawn by someone who at least knows how to do inking and sketching before you draw something. So you can at least get an outline. This is just, it's supposed to look like that, and it's bad, and I don't like it. It is a weird caricature of Acaster with two penises and many other strange appendages that don't make any sense.
Breasts. He has weirdly pointy man boobs.
I feel fortunate that none of my friends would ever give me that.
It's when Madonna went through that era of wearing a cone-shaped bra.
Yes, and that's
probably what you see if you looked under that.
That's not at all. This is a very bad picture, and this is how I would have thrown it away the first instant I got to. Maybe this is why it's here.
Anywho, finally, Kerry has brought in art made from a placenta, and Greg absolutely despises it.
Why? Nobody said. She didn't explain why. It's not very. But it's why is it made from a placenta? It's like a drawing of a tree or something. It's I don't know if it's done with blood from. I don't want to know. I don't care. I don't like it.
Let's
Next.
not think about it. You don't. Do you have any? I'll
Yes.
do the scores. But first, Phil wins. Jess then gets 4, James 3, Kerry 2, and Rod 1. Joseph, your objections
Taskmaster
after
Joe Drinkle, put it down.
It's the Taskmaster and his name is Joe and he's gonna tell us what we should know. It's Taskmaster Joe.
Okay, what was it?
Okay, just snap it. First place. I quite liked it. Phil Wang,
Fair enough.
second. Can't be any worse than any of the other stuff. Carrie, James, and Rod joint 5th place. Get them the fuck out of my sight. Next, onwards to the next thing, which is there is an adapted version of this task, and from the pictures I'm seeing online, it looks just as bad. Which is they did it for season 2, episode 1 of Sir Mastari. That's it. Continuing on. The task is put the most money in the small bowl. You may not touch the small bowl. The small bowl must not sink. Also, you must say your own name at least once every 30 seconds. You have 5 minutes. The money in the small bowl with the highest total of numerical value wins. Your time starts now. To clarify what that meant, they're going by the face value of the currency rather than like what it's worth. So if there's 100 kroner, whatever it's like
the 2p coin is larger than the 5p coin.
Yeah. Like if it's 2 pence, it's 2. But if you get like a 50 pence coin or 100 escudo coin, because they use a bunch of foreign coins, even though nobody except the one of the Cape Verde uses the escudo anymore. But if it's 100 escudos, that would be 100 in there, and so. I
have one thing of note, and that is you can move the fish bowls. Lolly out of Fope, I'm looking at you.
You can move the fish bowls, but
well, I say bowls, it's just one. But
the big bowl, but nobody does that. Spoiler alert. They try, it doesn't work.
They attempt it, but it doesn't.
But so anyways,
doesn't matter.
The coins are inside a swear box, which makes Rod Gilbert swear immediately. That I put in my notes, Rod and James attempted to rules lawyer it and fuck it up because they both tried to extract the small bowl in an attempt to put everything into it. James used a decorative skull that was bigger than the mouth of the bowl.
That was that was a very tragic moment for James because Hamlet really went down the drain, I guess you could say.
So he put it in the fishbowl and it immediately sank because they also did this after they put money in there. Afterward, and then Rod tried to carry it out, I guess to drain it outside, and because it had money in it, it sank while he was carrying it because of course it would. And so he just poured the bowl out onto the floor of the main room of the house and just piled all the money in there, obviously disqualified both of them. Then up we get Phil and Jess.
A lot of people were disqualified in this task.
Yes, they were. Up next we get Phil and Jess, who notes Phil sings his own name. They managed to sink, both of them sunk the bowl as well. Jess, used a coin to, poke it back to the surface, and then she sunk it again.
I'm amazed that worked, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. And then...
and she did it really quickly as well. It was sort of like watching a speed climber.
Yeah, it was. And then, no more traumatically than anything else, Phil, the fishbowl acts like a magnifying glass to anything on the other side of it, and unfortunately for everyone with eyes, the other side of it is Phil's genitals.
That's not even the worst we get of Phil's
genitals
it's not. In this episode.
I'm so glad it wasn't just me. No, it's not. But,
and I mean, that's in the next task, and I will...
there's another one after that.
Also, the thing, because Phil worked out that there wasn't any consequences for saying your name too many times.
So he just sang his name.
He just said, Phil Wang, Philly, Philly, Wang, Wang, which I thought you would really approve of.
I did. And then finally we get Carrie Godleman shown by herself, who...
Which, as we know in the rule of Taskmaster, means if you're shown by yourself, you've either done really well or really badly.
And she did it really well this time. Keep filling it just to the verge of sinking. She actually had to wait 2 minutes for the time to actually run out. At which point, she did it. I don't even think it mattered how many coins were in there, but because she was the only one who didn't sink it, so she gets 5 points, and
everyone else got 0, which puts her in a solid lead.
Yes, and then there's a commercial break in the middle of this, and we'll see this throughout the show. It's set around the box of glasses task from a couple episodes ago.
Alex pulls out random objects that have the same quantity as the part number.
Yeah, before eventually getting out like a CGI version, like a miniaturized version of himself that's in the box, and then a hand comes out of it in the end of the episode.
Wow.
And then there is an adapted version, which is in Season 2, Episode 7 of Stormester.
I'm very excited to be talking about this task because the two groups of people have two different tasks. We've got the grown-ups and the little boys. The grown-ups are given a fez. It's a sort of, if you don't know what a fez is, it's the sort of, if you watched Doctor Who when Matt Smith was the Doctor, he wore a fez on a few occasions. But it's the sort of little round plump. In fact, it's actually, Kerry thinks that it would have the same feel to it as a plant pod. It looks like a plant pod. It's a little fuzzy, and it's got the little tail drifting down the side. Mm-hmm. Do you want to know a cool sort of fact about the fez?
Sure.
So I watched this video where a bunch of guys go to Marrakesh in Morocco, and they're looking at a bunch of fezes in this like tourist shop. And the owner of the tourist shop says that if the little tassel is down at the front, like just dangling over in between your eyes, it means you're happy. But I think if it's either to the left or right side, I think it's the right side. But one of the two sides, it means you're angry.
Interesting. I'm sure that he really meant that and wasn't just trying to screw with a bunch of tourists.
Probably. It's sort of like the Hawaii flower in the hair culture and what that symbolizes.
Yeah. I'm not too certain on that either, but
it's like if you wear in Hawaii, because in Hawaii women wear flowers in their hair sometimes, if you wear the flower on the left hand side of your head, it means you're in a relationship. If you wear it on the right hand side, it means you're single.
Okay.
And I think the reason for that is because you wear the wedding ring on the left finger, the left hand, sorry. But yeah, that's just a fun fact for you today. But yeah, they have to be photographed wearing the fez in the most unusual location. They have 8 weeks to complete this. Shall I talk about their attempts now, or should I talk about what Phil and James had to do?
Let's do it in the way they show this, which is, I believe they show the hula hoop thing first, which I would also like to point out. I do like how Jess Snappet is included in the adults, which, I mean, looking at James,
even though she's
Phil,
only at most a year older than James.
Yeah, I mean, emotionally, it should be James, Carrie, and Rod versus Jessica and Phil. Actually, no, it should be James and Carrie versus Rod and Jessica and Phil, considering they're all children, but
okay. I think, just sort of for the sake of keeping things easy to follow, I'm going to talk about the fez photographs now.
Okay.
So Jess gets a picture of herself wearing the fez in the cockpit of an airplane, next to a pilot whose nickname was Fez. I think his real name was Andy Feston or something.
Yeah,
but
Andrew.
Andrew or something. But I think he was there in the studio or something, or at least
he
someone who went by the name of Fez. I like to think it wasn't actually Andy in the studio because it didn't show him on camera, and it was just some random guy who responded to being called Fez.
That could also work. This one was very funny. The fact that she found a guy whose nickname was Fez.
I mean, it's not an awful nickname by any means.
No, it's just very interesting. It's like, of all the odds for that.
And what, does she just go around the plane and is like, hey, hi, can I take a picture of me wearing this fez with anyone? That was a very weak Yorkshire accent from where Jess is from. I mean, it never hurts to ask. It never hurts to... While I was in Spain, if I may have another story time for a second, this reminds me of... We had this challenge where we had to find a nappy, a condom, and get a picture with a certain... with someone dressed a certain way. And I was able to get the picture and the condom, but I was not able to find anyone with a nappy, and I was the last person in my group to do it. And I was... I finished 10 minutes after everyone else, and I was so flustered and very stressed out. And then this random guy just piped up and said, I have a nappy. Now, the reason we had to try and find people nappy because people went out dressed as babies at one point during the night, just because it was the dress-up theme or something. But this guy had a nappy not because he'd previously dressed as a baby, but because he was my age, maybe at most 2 years older, and he had a small son, and his girlfriend had put the nappy in his bag as a joke. So he let me have it, and I ran back, and it was probably the greatest moment of my life.
Okay. That is...
I just tell the story, and you have a couple seconds and you're just like,
there
okay.
were no stores that sold diapers in all of Spain.
We did this, all of this. I found the nappies. This was at 8 o'clock in the night in Spain, and not many places would still be open, and we had to stay within the hotel anyway, or else that'd be dangerous.
What hellhole were you going to that you couldn't leave the hotel for fear of danger?
Oh no, we could leave the hotel, but just within the rules of the game, we couldn't really leave, and also, it's not really. This is why I hate explaining stuff about my personal life.
Okay. Emerson going to the Spanish hoods on his bus trips to the continent. You need, and I cannot stress this enough, Emerson, you need a better travel agent, or perhaps just a travel agent.
The Spanish hoods, I like that.
Yeah, you're
the
going
hoods of
deep
España.
into
the hoods of España.
What is hood? What is hood in Spanish?
God, I don't know. Can you find that out while I talk
Yes,
about?
I am.
Carrie took a photo of herself wearing the fez and some Tudor clothes. This looked really weird to me. It looked like it was photoshopped or something. It might well have just been. But part of me was thinking, was Carrie filming some sort of I don't want to say it was a period drama because, no offense, Carrie, that is not the sort of show you would be in. I thought, it could sort of be like a period sitcom or something. But I couldn't find out.
That 1870s show starring Carrie Godliman as Fez.
Capucha.
No, it's the one you want is El Barrio, because that's the Spanish term for neighborhood, which is because otherwise you're looking at hood like on a jacket or something like that.
Neighborhood vecindario.
Yeah, let's
call it the hoods of España.
No, hold on. Emerson in España's mal barrios.
That's too wordy. The hoods of España is our episode.
The hoods of España. Oh, goody.
Where was I? Rod managed to get a picture not of himself wearing the fez, but with Greg. And this is, for as run down as this semi-running gag is, this was funny. And do you know why it was funny? The picture was not funny. I mean, it was funny, but what made it was Greg's reaction to it.
The horrified double take.
That's it. And his mum is just sitting in the bath, chilling, wearing a fez.
Up to her neck with bubbles. And there's a fez. It is one of the great moments of this season. I thought that was the prize task.
I remember it. I thought it might have been the prize because it obviously makes most sense, but at the same time, it felt too late in the episode in my distant memory, if that makes sense.
Because there is a compilation video of all of Rod Gilbert's tasks that are like really good, and this is one of them. And I always just thought it was the prize task. Because
I don't blame you for thinking that. That makes total sense.
Which, can I also just point something out? This task as a whole makes no sense. Like
the Fez task specifically.
No, this whole thing. Why is it that we have a divided task like this, but only for like the hula hooping task could be its own task, or the Fez task could be like one of those like short interstitial tasks, like buy a gift for the Taskmaster sort of things. I don't understand why they combined them.
I have two potential theories. One, maybe the others, they were both filmed like, everyone filmed the Fez and everyone filmed the hula hooping tasks. But maybe the others attempt. Let me finish. The other people's attempts were just, oh god, we're going at each other. Everyone's attempts were just so bad that maybe they just chose not to do it.
Well, no.
My other theory is this is not a proper competition show. We are watching celebrities do dumb things. They are getting paid for this. It doesn't have to make major sense as long as it's entertaining.
Well, no, I get that. I was just wondering because when they showed the hula hooping task, Jess and Carrie especially seemed really confused because they hadn't seen it before. So I don't understand, as if they hadn't seen it before. And you get these reactions when you get the
that is a fair point. I'm sorry.
Like the counting tasks that they always make one poor schmuck do. They never do that.
Josh Whittaker is still not over that. Josh Whittaker is still not over that.
So I'm just a little confused about that, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it, without being too sassy about it, it comes down to, at the end of the day, these people are celebrities. They're getting paid to sort of just muck around and goof around a bit. And the trophy ultimately means nothing. Sorry, Greg.
Yeah, I suppose. We're getting into the territory that somebody commented on a video a couple weeks ago that we're apparently dissecting the frog and enjoying the show wrong.
The hell does that mean?
Because we're apparently we're getting too deep into a light entertainment program, and therefore we're enjoying it wrong. You can go check the comments from like 2 weeks ago. That's the comment someone left.
How can you enjoy something wrong?
No, it gave off the comments like you're looking into it too deeply.
No,
or whatever it is.
If we were enjoying it in the wrong way, we would be somehow dissecting every task and somehow making leaps and bounds to link it back to something horribly political.
You had me in the first half. I would love to dissect all of these tasks down to their component bits. But I had to respond to this person with just an Onion article of local man informed he's enjoying thing wrong.
I'm not saying that is what I want us to do. I'm just sort of saying that is how you enjoy it. Probably how you enjoy something.
Yeah.
And people don't really want to. We don't really take. We don't. I say that we dissect, but as a surface of, we don't take it too seriously. We just like to discuss these sort of things and have a laugh, really.
Yeah.
And at the same time get sassy. But now it is time to talk about the little boys. James and Phil have 1 minute to hula hoop and get as many attempts or full rotations in as possible. Now, let's quickly talk about their attempts at hula hoop, because they first find out the hula hoop's like set up vertically. I think it's on some sort of like stand. They just take the task, they read it. This is all in front of the Taskmaster house. And because of course they do, they not only get close-ups of Phil Wang's genitalia again, They get close-ups of his genitalia as he's thrusting forward and back in slow motion, making the grunting noises of the hula hoop.
Distressingly slow motion thrusting.
And
it's every day
look on his
he
face
thrusts
as well.
He thrusts further away from God's light.
Every day he's thrustling.
Oh no.
That's a throwback, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Also, just to something else, because I was desperately trying to not think about Phil Wang anymore, but that failed. He also might have been wearing Asics, is the other alternative for the shoes he had, because there's a couple different ones with that pattern from the Kill Bill saga, and I'm not sure which one it is. Hopefully someone knows.
So Phil manages to do 58 seconds worth of hula hooping at the Taskmaster house. Not much to say about James other than he achieved 6 seconds worth of hula hooping.
Yeah, James failed.
Now, this is where the task gets interesting. Improve your hulaing. Greatest improvement wins. You have until the studio shows. Now, this is great because even though if James hula hooped for 12 seconds in the studio, but Phil managed to hula for 58 seconds, James would still win because he had the greatest improvement.
Mm-hmm.
But that's unfortunately not what happened. In the studio, Phil only managed to hula for 1.5 seconds, and James for a solid 5.
Yeah, they both really fucked it up. They did not. They did not.
James claims he cracked under the nerves, and when he did it a second time, he was going for.
He'd been practicing for. He'd been practicing for weeks,
for eons. But Greg is nice enough to give James 1 sympathy point because he did improve on his second go greatly, which means the scores are as follows. Jess gets 3, James and Kerry both get 2, and Phil and Rod both get 1, which means Kerry is still in the lead going into VT Task 3. Now, I like this one.
Yes. This one... Oh, and before we go on, the Fez portion of this task does not have an adapted version, but there is an Improve Your Hula Hooping task in Storm Massacre Season 2, Episode 5. So, again... Why is this task the way it is? I don't know. Next, we have the very interesting Find a Satsuma in a Sock task, which I would just like to point something out, is that in America, we don't have Satsumas. That's not a name of anything. I assume from context
Satsuma is a
clues
type of orange.
Yes, I believe I have looked this up. I have looked this up. It is what's known in the U.S. as a mandarin orange.
Fair enough.
So for anyone who's listening in America, because I definitely did not know the first couple of times, but they are mandarin oranges. They're very small. You'd be very confused oranges.
If you read Bob Mortimer's book, The Satsuma Complex.
Wow, I probably would have been. I haven't read that, but
I think I've only sort of just realized this in the last few seconds, but there's a Satsuma in a sock. Now, I don't know what sort of your Christmas traditions are, but back in ye olde times of the 1960s and 70s, when kids would sort of hang up like their stockings or socks and stuff,
yes,
they would find Satsumas in them on Christmas morning.
Yes, because you lived in the frozen hellscape of Europe where fruits were a rare and unknowable commodity. You see, I live in America where we have fruits and vegetables.
Oh, yeah, no, wait, like, I saw a pineapple for the first time last year, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
What the fuck do you mean you saw a pineapple for the first time? Are you like a Victorian urchin who has to, like, rent a pineapple?
I was joking based on what you said, because we don't... You were saying that we don't get fruit here.
Okay, listen. Your country's the one that fell for the fucking spaghetti harvest joke, not mine.
What on earth is a spaghetti harvest joke?
Oh, now we're gonna... Okay. Very briefly, the BBC did an April Fool's Day joke in the 50s where they claimed that the largest producer of spaghetti in the world was Switzerland, where they grew them on trees. And they had an entire, 5-minute documentary on the Swiss spaghetti harvest. Because it was a foreign delicacy at the time, so nobody knew where the fuck it came from.
Of all the things to trick people into thinking comes out of Switzerland, why would you choose spaghetti?
Because it sounds fucking ridiculous. That's why.
But
also,
surely the prank's greater if it's something you can believe.
Oh, 1950s England bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, that reminds me, in France, do you know about the Deliveroo prank in France that happened about 5 years ago?
What? I don't even know. Deliveroo is a service.
Well, Deliveroo is like an Uber. It's like an Uber Eats sort of thing. They have it in. I don't know. Do they have Deliveroo in America?
We don't have Deliveroo, but we have Uber Eats.
Well, it's like the more popular version of Uber Eats in Europe. I don't remember the exact details of it, but on April 1st, Deliveroo sent all its subscribers in France, or the majority of its subscribers in France, a fake receipt for an order of about 200-300 euro with a large tip.
I'm sure that went over well.
I don't think it did, and it sort of made, especially when you look at stuff on the internet, everyone's hyper alert on April 1st goes up.
Yeah, I'm sure they took it over, but
shall we talk about the socks and Satsumas?
Yes, we should. And also, I also discovered that Satsumas are also what are known as tangerines. So that is a thing that we have in America. That is what it is. And so to describe the task, it's outside by the caravan. There is a load of red socks hung up from trees, from two poles, and it's across the whole driveway area. And then we've got various things stuck inside of them. What is the actual phrasing of the task? Because it says everything.
You may not look
find the sock with the Satsuma inside. You may not look inside any of your socks. You may squeeze 5 socks. You may stroke 10 socks. You may sniff 20 socks. You may put your hand inside 3 socks. You may put 11 socks on your feet. Fastest wins. Your time starts now. I'm not convinced that whoever made this task didn't have a foot fetish, because I looked at because watching this was real weird in the way that everything
it was
went.
And it was Quentin Tarantino who came up.
It was Tarantino-esque is a very good way of putting it.
Tarantino tasks.
But yes,
Tarantino tasks would have been a good episode title. Could we get that or something?
We can come up with whatever.
Tasking tangerines.
Tarantino tasking. I think tangerines might be too long
Tarantino
for the YouTube title, but
it's a shame because the Hoods of España lives on.
We could do Hoods of España, but anyways,
what if we did the Hoods of España / Tarantino tasking?
That's way too long for the YouTube title box. You've got a limited number of characters for it.
Sure,
but
well, you'll see which one we went with in the end.
Guarantee it'll be a third one that we haven't gotten to yet. But anyways, the other thing notably that you need to notice in this task is that on the door of the caravan there's a giant 8 that is written. The 8 is because Alex put the Satsuma in the 8th sock from the right, which he needed to remind himself. Nobody ever turned around, so nobody ever realized that. James Acaster is really upset about this.
James is livid. This is the second time
we
in
get
a few episodes.
A great meltdown.
He says that because James said that he'd just about moved on from his anger fell in the live hula hooping task, and then his anger is back up to full scale. I think one more thing I've noticed is that there are red herring objects.
There are billiard balls, eggs, limes, and other tennis balls, among other things.
Oh no, wait, there's not limes. There's
A lime!
That's probably the quote of the episode for me.
Yeah, that's a really good one. But
do you know what it sounds like? It sounds like the kid's like, "What have you got there, honey? A knife."
Okay. But honestly, I have no idea what video that's from.
Oh god! If I was having this conversation with Spelvin, he would be laughing his ass off.
I'm so glad that I am funny. I am not as funny as Spelvin, but anyways.
I mean, honestly, that's okay because it makes Spelvin's appearances more unhinged and chaotic.
You know, I didn't find it very unhinged at all when I listened to the episode when I was on the boat. Maybe you just have a very low unhinged meter. We start off with Jess and Phil, who, again, they're touching the socks, they're feeling the socks, they're smelling the socks. James is putting...
Oh, you saying it like that does not make it sexual at all.
Phil is, trying to, hear the socks, like a conch, and then, Jess Knappett is putting the socks on her feet. And it's like for certain weird people on the internet, this is gold tier content. And I'm sitting here going I don't like that there are people like that watching this. This is weird. They had to have known, but they didn't. And but anyways, of note, Jess found a Satsuma eventually, but not before she stepped on an egg, which was lovely for her. And Phil, as stated earlier, found the decoy citrus.
A lime!
Yep, a lime. And so it took Phil 21 minutes, 10 seconds to find a lime, but Jess, and so that doesn't really matter. Jess got 16 minutes, 56 seconds to find a Satsuma. Then we got James and Carrie, who were just hitting things with rackets in their hands to sort of figure it out. James Acaster is smelling it, that's actually the thumbnail on one of the YouTube, the full task video that's on YouTube. Again, this is weird. I'm too terminally online for this to not be weird. I don't like this, but it's just... Also, poor James Acaster takes a flying backhand smack at one of these socks, and it's a fucking billiard ball. That had to have hurt.
It's just insult to injury after insult to injury for James in this episode.
And they both got Satsumas, as far as I can tell. James did it in 9 minutes 34. Carrie did it in 8:40. And then finally we get to Rod Gilbert, who we fade into Rod who is standing half crouched over in front of the caravan with his head in between his hands, bent over at the waist as he's trying to think. His first idea is to take down the rope and I don't even know what his plan was. I don't know if he knew, but he goes inside to get scissors and in the process found a tangerine in the kitchen, jammed it down the nearest sock, which is one of the ones that contained a billiard ball, as it turns out, and then just handed that one to Alex. And yes, he did, in fact, find a sock with the Satsuma inside of it, because it didn't say the Satsuma, it said a Satsuma. And so that took him 2 minutes and 31 seconds. We cut back to the studio, and James Acaster is practically levitating out of his seat in rage. God. We just have the most petty British argument as James Acaster just fully engages whiny child mode to protest the unfairness of it. I would love to put him in a room with Ed Gamble and Joe Lycett and just see and put them in a situation where
he's already in a room with Ed Gamble quite a lot anyway.
Well, yeah, but put the three of them in a room where they're clearly all being screwed over by the other two contestants.
Did you say Joe Lycett? Let me see if there was an off-menu episode with Joe. I mean, there most likely has been.
Because I'll be honest, I don't listen to any of the other podcasts.
Christmas special.
But just all three of them jumping up and down and yelling about something inconsequential would be gold. But, so anyways, because James threw a fit, Rod gets 4 points, not 5, because it's a joint fourth place with Carrie. There's no winner, only second place, and then everything else goes in order, which would be Carrie and Rod in second place, James in third, Jess in fourth, and then Phil not getting any points. No, he did not.
Not a sausage.
And then we do have adapted tasks, which has the wonderful not from someone I want to talk to right now, but it is the wonderfully named adapted master task of find the sock containing the specific citrus fruit. And so, interestingly, this is actually a very interesting Christmas special task. So, Stormmaster and Basti Test both use them for Christmas specials. Stormmaster called them clementines, and they were in Christmas stockings in 2019 Christmas special. And then Basti Test said Satsuma again, and they said it was in Christmas stockings, even though they were just identical red socks, like the exact same ones they used in Taskmaster. And then Kongan Befaller did it in season 7, episode 5 with it was more or less identical to how this was done, except for variations like how many socks you can hit, feel, and smell. And then also one of the contestants is given the extra challenge of having to smile into the camera every 15 seconds, which we saw in Joe Lysette's painting from a distance task, where he looked increasingly more deranged by the end of it. From season 5? 4. And then onwards to the next one, which I have a question, which is, what's a rally?
A rally is... Well, it's a back and forth, pretty much.
That's not a word I've ever heard.
It's like if you say they were...
in this
if
context.
you say Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic were rallying the ball, you'd just say they were hitting it backwards and forwards to each other.
Oh.
So with that added knowledge, the VT Task 4 is achieve a rally of exactly 24 shots. You must each take the same amount of shots. You must be stood at least 6 feet and 8 inches apart from one another. For added context, this is the full height of Greg Davis. The object stuck. I copy-pasted this from Taskmaster.info.
Object struck.
Oh, struck.
Must...
The object struck must neither touch the ground nor be held at any point during the rally. There is a bonus point for the team which uses the most ambitious equipment. Fastest wins. Your time starts now. Personally, I don't think one bonus point should have been enough. But I digress. This task is interesting because there's simultaneously a lot and not a lot to talk about it. Jess and Kerry
it's very strange, this task.
Jess and Kerry go through a bunch of racket alternatives, including ukuleles, sofa cushions, boxing gloves. They eventually settle on probably the best thing, and that is some plastic trays. They get a little toy football, and they get a rally of 24 in 12 minutes and 49 seconds. One couple note I have is Jess falling down in the shed is pretty funny. Not the first time she's fallen over the series.
It's just the crashing sounds.
And also Kerry laughing. And also, I think it was... I can't remember exactly who said it, but it was 1, 2, fuck.
Yeah, that was them.
I know it was one of them, but... Was it? It sounds more like something Kerry would say. And also, this is the episode where she said it before, but this is the episode where Bosch really starts to go into full effect.
Yeah.
Like it said a lot. But yeah, pretty good from the girls all around. And then we have the fellas. Now this might have just been like trying them to get the bonus point for the most ambitious equipment, but it's also contestants creating their own obstacles again because they put Phil in a fucking blindfold.
They put him in a blindfold for like a minute, and then they realized it didn't work. Like, I do have the wonderful. I don't know if we want to soundbite this. It's when they're first trying this. It's ball thrown from James to Rod, and then Rod throws it to Phil, and Rod just goes like, Phil, as it like sails 3 feet past Phil, who is like barely aware that it happened.
And Rod says it like like Phil knew it was going to happen, and he didn't. I was re-listening to the Taskmaster USA episodes we did recently, and there was so many instances of that, of contestants creating their own obstacles.
Yeah. There are.
I was mainly just listening to them for just sort of hatred of it, because I think that was quite funny.
Oh my! I did listen to them again recently. That was quite a lot.
I think in terms of what we've recorded, that might be my favorite series we've recorded. It
definitely encourages an emotional reaction, even if it is just spite.
But finally, what they decide to do is they decide to sort of roll the football over the top of the shed roof. Now,
soccer ball.
They decide to roll
soccer.
They decide to roll
It's not football.
They roll the ball. They roll the ball, because I'm not getting into this argument now. They roll
sphere.
Circular object.
It's a spherical object. Circles are 2-dimensional.
Ball gags.
Uh-huh. Got there.
Ball gags too? Is it that?
Oh my god. We can pick a name later.
No, because okay. Well, if I could just name them all, I would, but you'll see which one. I've lost my place. They decide to roll the ball over the top of the shed roof. Now, the problem here is that the shed is only 6.5 feet, 2 inches short. And the team actually managed to rally 27, and
but they can't count enough.
This is so difficult because they picked a number where both teams would easily, and they could have gone for 12 as well, but I think 12 would have been too easier to keep track with. But with the girls, they had to take just 12 shots each. The boys had to take 8. And they still fucked up. James got 9 in, Rod got 8, and Phil got 7. And they took over 19
They counted. It took them 19 minutes. They counted to 24. They did 27. And, it was just all... Oh, also the shed roof was 6'6".
I mentioned that. But it just goes to show that these people just have no... I mean, the boys just have no... They completely lost the plot. That's what we're saying.
I think they said it was like a bag of monkeys or something.
Yeah, it was not a good time. They got 0 points, but they got a bonus point for the most ambitious equipment, which means the girls get 5 and the boys get 1. Jose Mourinho, would you like to talk about the live task?
As much as one can talk about this, because okay. This task is one of the first, if not the first, live task to take place on the seating area and not on the stage.
That's a good point, actually.
Write your name and draw a picture of a happy horse on your overhead projector acetate upside down. You must not rotate or manipulate your acetate. You have 100 seconds. Most accurate picture and writing when your acetate is overhead projected wins. Now, to explain that, for anyone who's under the age of like 17, back before they had digital projectors, in order to put something on the on the board for your teacher to show off something, they would take translucent film and they would write on it, and then they would put it on an overhead projector, which would shine a light from underneath into a mirror, which would project it
had one of these
onto.
It wasn't the primary projector. We had digital ones, but I think it was just so the teacher could put bits of paper for us to see more easily.
Yeah. It was much more common in the before the 2000s, but it still is a thing that I had in school. But the thing here is that well, first of all, points to Alex for having the word acetate 3 times in this task brief, which is hilarious. But also, just to clarify for anyone who this doesn't immediately make sense for, the acetate does not need to be drawn upside down. It will project a normal image. Like if you just draw on this piece of paper and you draw it normally, it will show up fine. But Alex is going to physically flip the acetate over and then put it on the projector. So they have to draw the whole thing upside down. So that's what it made. It did. Rod was almost metagaming himself too with this, and nobody really seemed to get it perfect. But so we get this, and it is 100 seconds on the clock, and arts and crafts go. This is an arts and crafts task. This is fucking bullshit to watch. This is even worse to do for a podcast, and Greg extolled the audience to cheer like it was football, which in England is which is English soccer, and so they went absolutely fucking nuts over this, and
absolutely buck wild.
Greg collects their work because he was a teacher, so he actually chided Rod on looking at other people's work. And then it's just drawings of horses. Notable, I believe. Rod's,
which was very strange.
Rod's was which Greg didn't care for. Phil wrote his name partially in Chinese because it was easier to write upside down. Carrie's was mostly upside down, but her name was backwards. Jess's wasn't great either. Her horse was also... Greg deemed her horse to be deranged looking. James definitely
in a sense,
drew
the
a
horse
horse.
Is much like Jess herself.
And then James drew something that could definitely be considered a horse. That is very good.
I would have said his horse looked more smug than happy.
And then, but this is almost a subjective task, and if I cared more, I'd do Taskmaster Joe for it, but I don't. This is just quickly draw something. It's none of them are going to be good, and none of them were. I'd probably put Carrie and Jess down at the bottom. I would have definitely put Rod further up because his was definitely a horse drawn from the front, which is very interesting.
Can you imagine if we paint the best picture of a horse while riding a horse upside down?
Oh God. But that would be just terrible.
And very unsafe. So we strongly advise against it. But it does mean that Kerry Godliman walks away with the dub.
Yes, and also we have adapted tasks. Would you fucking believe it?
Wow.
Which is
okay.
We have actually. This is supposedly an adapted task. I'm gonna not go with Carl's interpretation on Taskmaster.info. According to this, there is an adapted This is an adapted version of a season 2 episode 5 of Basti Test where they had to draw a bicycle upside down, but in actuality, based on the whole projector thing and everything, actually following this one, Surmastari season 2 episode 8 had this in the exact same format, and Kongan Befaller season 6 episode 1. So I think those are the adapted tasks.
Fair dues. Going back to when we did Taskmaster USA, I was like, because you suggested that the task with the potato in the final of that was the only original task, but I said it was that show's version of the surprising rubber duck task.
I don't remember the potato task enough. What was the potato task again?
I think Ron Funches or whatever his name was put googly eyes on the potato and then put it in a microwave.
Maybe? Oh god, now I gotta look this up.
You can just listen to the episode.
I don't remember which episode it was.
It was the final Taskmaster USA episode we covered.
Okay, hold on. Do something surprising with the potato. Fuck, I don't have any memory of this at all.
While Joe encourages his memory, we're going to close the podcast for today.
Yeah.
We will be back next week for the finale of Series 7. And then after that, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen. I'll try and make sure our live episode happens when I go to America. Until then, you'll see us next week.
Yeah.
Drink water.
Don't die. Whatever.
Be kind to
end now.
It's ironic from the guy who's been a sassy bastard, but be kind to each other. Bye.
Bye.